Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 835. Why Star Wars is Buddhist and Jesus is like a Sith. That is
crazy.
I'm not sure what that. Maybe there's some reference to the Bible, or I don't know, Tibetan Book of the Dead that could connect to something in Star Wars. I don't know.
In Star Wars, yes, the dualism, you can find that in Buddhism, in Taoism. It does also reflect into Christianity, which this guy is probably not aware of.
Okay.
Sadly, our in-stream Buddhist and our in-stream Christian scripture knowledgeable people, Cyrek and Crazy Philosopher, are not here today.
Yeah,
but I think we can manage.
I think I'm okay, at least with Star Wars, and we could talk about all the joys of KOTOR and how it asks questions about the Force and what it is. And I know a little bit about world religions and some touch here and there about Buddhist. I read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That was a riot. The Bardo worlds and the cycle of rebirths and how to escape this. All these wonderful stuff. That this is thousands of years old. So
the Book of the Dead is only to help you escape if you didn't manage it throughout life.
If your karma was not appropriate to the teachings of the Buddha or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway.
Well, it's not about the Buddha only revealed how you can do that. That doesn't mean that you have to do exactly that.
You could reincarnate as an ant. Yeah, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff.
If you fuck it up well enough, yeah.
Yeah, there's like so many Bardo worlds. I don't know exactly what they mean, but you can choose to go into all these states of being if you want, if you have the karma to do it. It's like a currency for the reincarnation.
It's all about well, currency is a bit of the wrong term. And this is where bad people, narcissists, and our wonderful socialists are always getting it wrong because they think of everything in a transactional mindset where they just pay enough and then they can do enough bad stuff to come out neutral. That's not how karma works.
No.
The bad stuff is the bad stuff, and it sticks with you no matter what you do.
I think that's the same with Christianity. They talk about heaven and hell, and you have all these good deeds, and then you have all these bad deeds, and you pile up and you scale them in some sort of Egyptian ritual of the dead. And I don't know. It's
you mean the very heavy feather?
It's the same concept, and if you're allowed to pass through.
The idea in those in the Buddhist version is that what happens after death is that's mainly your subconscious making the decisions, the emotional reactions to everything. Not you consciously, not your consciousness, because you probably won't have developed it enough, but is the point of Buddhism, to develop the higher levels of consciousness well enough so that you have actual control. So that you see the world as it is and not as the illusions it presents itself to be. So that you see through lies.
Which is
like the Sith.
Kind of what the Tibetan book does at the stage of dying. You're supposed to recite this book to the Buddhist who's dying, and whatever that means to him, if he could even hear you at that point, he will allow to choose where to go. It's interesting. It's a fascinating understanding of Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism. So, and there's many flavors of Buddhism. I'm not saying that's the only one, but as soon as I saw Star Wars Buddhist propaganda, I'm like, woo, that's I don't think Lucas is that intelligent. I know he loves Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell was probably intelligent enough to talk about that. I don't think that's what Lucas got from Campbell. So
no, Lucas did a very, very superficial, simplistic form of the light side, dark side thing. And as what I said before, Christianity is a reflection of all of that with the cardinal sins and cardinal virtues. And when you look into the history where it comes from, and the history and mythologies before that, it is connected with it. So you just said Christianity in that sense is an expression of the same thing that Buddhism is. What different churches then made out of that after the relevant guy left us? It's a different story.
Yeah,
Buddhism didn't exist during the Buddha's time. It came to be after he died, made up by all the people that, hey, did you know the Buddha also said this and that? And now he can't say no anymore.
Oh.
And it's all just, if you took all the things that the Buddha allegedly said by his disciples or other people in India.
Yeah, and
he would never have time to meditate if he had said all those things.
And that's another influence. I remember back in high school learning that he was also influenced by the Bhagavad Gita, or one of the Gitas, and that's an Indian or Hindu teaching, and that talks about the warriors of Yoda and the father or the son defeating the father, and all these other obvious connections, whether it's Arthurian or Islam or Judaism. There's all these wonderful connections.
Islam doesn't have these. Sorry.
No, not to the Gita, but in influence to Star Wars or whatever Lucas was trying to explain in his broken method of the Force and what that meant. And we could talk about how whatever the heck the prequel trilogy was to explain how Vader was like a virgin birth sort of thing, and all this nonsense about what balance is. It was never explained. It was never clarified. It was all up in the air until we got to KOTOR 1 and 2, or at least 2, where the question became, is it an entity? Is there this thing causing all this? And this is where we go back to Lucas, who he thought, yeah, there was this thing called the wills. Thankfully, he never made a movie about that, but this is the concept that he was trying to get at, that there's another entity causing all of these things in life to occur, and why Kreia was so angry and wanted to harm the Force, because she thought it was a being that caused life and death in a large scale. And that was even never really represented properly in KOTOR, even with the brought back what was the restored content mod or whatever it was called, that did not give us a satisfying explanation and ending to what Kreia was trying to do. But that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other topic. And this is probably going to be a surface level conversation, but I don't know. I haven't heard this guy yet. So.
And to our holy knight in the chat, who's been writing quite a lot already. Hello to you. And the Sith are not trying to become Jesus or Jesus-like. They're just representations of the ego, which that is the dark side. That is yin in Taoism, Buddhism. And you find that also in the old Hebrew texts referred by different words. But the dark side is ego. The light side is what overcomes that. But you still require ego in order to survive. Because if you don't have any ego, you are not you can't sustain yourself.
That would be,
then you would be an altruist, you would be a pathological altruist who gives until he dies.
That would be a Buddhist, or one of the Buddhist teachings, to disconnect yourself from all the emotions and passions of being alive, whether you're an animal or a man. Mm-hmm. So there's obvious connections with that, and it's the problem is the Jedi want that, even though they are part of the light side. And then you say, okay, well, I'm not sure what exactly that means. So it ends up becoming the Jedi use this pool of energy called the Force to do good, whereas the Sith use this pool of energy called the Force to do whatever they want. So there's
which is ego versus responsibility. It's immaturity versus maturity in a way.
You could read into it a bit more, I guess. And I don't think it was Lucas thought that far ahead, because if he did, he would have applied that.
Oh, no. The thing with this, with something so basic, is that even without studying it into its utter depths of scripture, of history, of around the world mythology, you will get the basics right. And that is what Star Wars has. That is what George did. He took the basics, what's good to do, what's bad to do, and that's that.
Yeah, and he turned the Force into chi or prana, or from prana and chi, and made it his own thing. And that's cool. We could all imagine we have superpowers through hard work and training and being the chosen one and this and that. So yeah, there's lots of mythos running around in Star Wars that is just enough to get the ball rolling and for us to keep our imaginations going. So anyway, let's get started. Here's the Dark Seraph. Thank you, sir, for the 5. I feel like this video is going to be a surface level projection from some Reddit cheese brain. This guy has some popular videos, like millions and millions of views. I don't know. I have never watched this stuff, but
what is one? The feet in the body of Christ are the Baptists.
Huh.
It's one of his videos.
Proving God exists. I still like proving God exists using math is always like, okay. That's fun. Anyway, let's get started.
Star Wars is Buddhist propaganda, and Jesus is more like a Sith than a Jedi. So a lot of you guys requested this video, so here it is. Now, I'm not dissing Star Wars. I like Star Wars, but I recognize it has...
Is this his video, or is he making a response to this? Like slideshow or whatever this is?
He might be It sounds like it might be a response to debunk this claim.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good then.
Well, then we can leave.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're right. Bye.
Than Christianity. Because the Sith, the bad guys of Star Wars, have a much closer worldview to Christianity than the Jedi, who are
the Sith have a closer worldview to
I don't know, he's doing air quotes.
Is he like just saying what someone else is saying? He's going to debunk it, or he actually believes this?
I think he's going to debunk it
because
he's doing air quotes.
Good, okay.
Good Star Wars. Because in the Star Wars universe, the Jedi have their own sort of religious worldview, and it's all about balance and serenity and detaching yourself from the world, which is quite similar to Eastern religions, especially Buddhism.
Right.
Buddhism teaches that the world kind of sucks. You're not supposed to try and fix the world or make a utopia. You're just supposed to detach yourself.
No, not supposed to. If you want to, that's up to you. If you want to keep spinning around in samsara, the wheel of suffering, that's all fun to you. Be on the roller coaster. I mean, life has its perks. Even when you go through a decade of trauma, there is still fun at the other end and in between. It works, kind of. You don't need to go out. And the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, they are those that have achieved enlightenment, but decided to come back anyway. So they could leave. They could go for nirvana, which is non-existence. It's not paradise. It's, you cease to exist. Boom.
I'm reminded always of, was it Hermann Hesse who did Siddhartha?
Yes, Hermann Hesse.
Hesse, yeah.
It's probably his only really worthwhile writing that he made. He wrote tons of stuff. Most of his books are The Author's Disguised Fetish.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't want to know, but you can guess. He was very left-wing. But Siddhartha is a solid piece of work.
Yeah, and in that book
a good thing.
Is the Buddha. And Siddhartha meets the Buddha, and they have this conversation. And the Buddha is pretty much the pinnacle of peace. Like, that's the whole idea of the Buddha, is peaceful. To be this monk, this poor man, but he's completely at peace. He doesn't want violence.
Oh, no, it is the story of the Buddha.
Well, the Siddhartha is different than the Buddha.
How do you mean? It's over 20 years ago that I read it, but I thought it was the story of the Buddha, how he came to enlightenment.
Not exactly. The Buddha is literally another character in the story. Siddhartha is his own character, and he goes on his journey of enlightenment, just not the same enlightenment as the Buddha.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay, that could be, because it's rather similar to the actual Buddha story.
It is interesting because they both find their own enlightenment in a very different way, and because they meet each other, and the friend he's with, like he's always with this guy, goes off with the Buddha, and he's like, "That's your path. I have to go on my enlightenment," and it's this very strange scenario what he does and what he chooses to do. But at the end, he ends up achieving it. So
Yeah, it's basically the story of he's gone through everything.
yeah,
The heights of life, the lows, the being rich, being poor, and after having experienced it all, realizes what it is really about.
yeah, it's a very it teaches you about all these various elements. So I think Hinduism and then Buddhism and a few other elements, and it's very cultural. I think for whatever time period it takes place in, I don't know exactly when, but all the wonderful philosophies of those two in a very tight way, and it's not that long a story, so it's a good read. Anyway, sidetracked.
And Only Night, I completely
Pathology,
disagree
or
with
end
you.
goal, of both the Star Wars Jedi religion and Buddhism is a sort of detachment from the world and restoring the world to balance. It's not some dualistic triumph of good over evil.
Yeah, but it is. That's the story of Star Wars.
That's what balance. That's what balance really is.
Yeah,
You overcome. You in order to overcome everything, you first have to master it. You can't let go of something that you do not have. And we're all naturally, when we're born, we go through a narcissistic phase. You could say that's the yin phase, that's darkness. And as our consciousness grows, we develop the yang, that which gives. But we have to retain the other, master both, then we have unity, then we are complete beings, and then we can actually make it to see the world as it objectively is, and also overcome it.
If the Jedi were in fact this literal depiction of balance of the Force, they wouldn't be Jedi. They'd be gray. They'd have the ability to accept the dark side and light side, and choose whatever neutral path in life that would be. And you would have an actual light side Jedi group that would be, we are all about organization and order and blah blah blah, and then we're getting to, like, I don't know, the Babylon 5 themes.
The Jedi are better described as the Hinayana in the Eastern tradition. The thing where you have tons of rules that you have to keep up with.
Yeah.
It's not as extreme with the Jedi, but it's basically the Hinayanas for the dumb people that can't get up further on their consciousness path, because for whatever limitations they have.
Well,
and they need that so that they don't do bullshit, that they don't make it worse, that next incarnation things are gonna get better. And the Mahayana, that would be the gray Jedi that you describe. The ones that know when I know when I can actually do one of the bad things in order to do a good thing without it seriously affecting anything in a negative way.
Well, let's also remember that George never explained what balance was to the Jedi exactly. We didn't know what especially the prophecy meant, what balance to the Force meant. It was just sort of, oh, this is going to be a thing they're going for, but we had no goal, we had no problem, we had no criteria. So we sat there going, what does it mean, George? Tell us. And we still don't know.
Yeah, we have to ignore the Star Wars, Clone Wars episodes in the Force world with the 3 Force gods for that. Because that was very literal.
It's like, there, I am the dark side. Oh, you are the brother. Okay, then you.
And he escapes in the end into the world
like,
while the sister and the dad are dead.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that
shit.
was weird. There's the personification of everything we're talking about. Like, okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Show.
And no, Chad, the Jedi are not Gnostics. That is something completely different. The Gnosticism, in the shortest form that I can put it, is the retarded dark side interpretation of everything. It's like a narcissistic child that can't think beyond its nose, looking at whatever religion and then making up crap about it because it doesn't understand what it's actually about.
This is a good contrast to KOTOR 2 because Kreia believes the Force is an entity, is an actual sentient being causing these problems in life and choosing who lives and who dies. And if there was some machine or some weapon or some, like, you know, the whole thing is Malachor 5, we're going to cause that bomb to go off again. Like, that's not really going to do much, Kreia. You're just going to repeat what happened on a bigger scale, I guess. There was no direct thing that we can go, oh, she wants to kill the Force and this is going to kill the Force. Like, there was no test. There was no experiment. It was just, we're going to set this bomb off again. You're like, okay, is that going to hurt the Force? Is that going to cause
but
another...
if you kill the Force, doesn't that kill everything that is alive?
I maybe? I don't know. See, the whole story with Kreia was this uber cynical creature who... anything like the Nar Shaddaa lesson, everything you do is nihilistic, doesn't matter. It's like, okay, so you're Sith, right? It's like, no, I don't believe in the Sith. Like, okay, whatever, Kreia. So there's
I'm better than the Sith because it's like the socialists saying we are against religion. We are better because we're against religion while doing everything like the most insane religion on steroids.
So there's nothing wrong with having a flaw in your villain. It's just that Kreia's philosophy was just sort of like, that's why I never covered KOTOR 2 because I like it so much, but when I start analyzing and thinking about it, it just falls apart in the last quarter. And I'm like,
well, they didn't finish the game really.
Yeah, but even with as I said, with restored content,
that's but it would fall apart because it's not completed.
Anyway, I don't think Avalon,
even if the rest was okay, it's difficult.
I don't think Avalon and the writer team got a concise ending the way you should, because they did a concise ending with Planescape Torment because of all the beautiful choices and build up to that what you did ended up what you got. With KOTOR 2, it's like you fight Kreia.
Yeah, but with Torment, it didn't run out of money.
I know, but
with
even
KOTOR, the shuttle flies away.
Even then, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to get into it. Anyway, let's just get on with the video.
But that's exactly what Christianity is. Christianity does not teach that you should detach yourself from the world. There were some early...
yes, Christianity says, be all the virtues, be none of the sins.
Turn the other cheek, so if someone causes violence against you, you disconnect from the violence and accept the fact that someone's going to hurt you. Like, no, there's lots of ways.
Yeah, just let the bad guy win. That's a lot of denominations, including here in town, do think like that. Yeah. That is why Christianity is currently dying. It's losing.
It's like
it's teaching its children to not fight back against the bully because somehow that makes you the better person.
Yeah. When you what the I think you were talking about, before you detach yourself, you have to master something. This is what martial artists teach.
Yes.
Every martial artist, doesn't matter what practice, whether it's boxing or Jeet Kune Do, pick one, they never ever want to get into a fight unless there's a darn good reason, because they know the outcome of fights. They've been in them. So this concept of disconnecting comes from a place of wisdom and experience, not turn the other cheek because the Bible said so, as opposed to defending yourself when a bully starts hurting you and your family or whatever the case is.
So you have to master the violence before you can put it aside. You have a gun to not need it, because if you don't need it, you will need it.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
This is what Americans know almost inherently by high school, as their Constitution is part and parcel the argument against a overgrown state.
Yeah.
So
Nef Champion, the somebody told me the true meaning of turn the other cheek a while ago, but I would have to look through my notes. I don't remember it. What people use it for is an infinite rule of three. But what you should use it as, what you can rectify it somewhat, is to make it an actual rule of three. Because anytime I ask them, how many cheeks do you have? They look, they have this look of the eyes going up and, oh. Because the way it's used is always this, turn the other cheek, again and again and again and again. And that's how bad people get away with stuff. It's the same how we teach victims of narcissistic abuse, of gaslighting, who've been conditioned to be all of the virtues completely, but to be cowards at the same time, to never speak up. They're taught to be doormats. And the way we teach them to get out of that is make yourself a ruler of three. You can turn the other cheek, but you only have two cheeks. So from this point on, you make a tally, and once it reaches 3, you can decide. Now you can be sure it's justified to fight back against your narcissist or cut a narcissist off. You can be sure it is one now, and it usually doesn't even take a week until that tally is full for people in that situation. So it's just important that don't look into the past where there's been 1,000 cases. Just say, from this point on, 3 strikes you out. And it's similar with a military proverb, that if that turned the other cheek infinite times, well, you wouldn't have a military. The military proverb in Germany is basically once, when mistakes happen, once is an accident, twice is incompetence, 3 times, that's enemy action. So you need to learn to identify, when you have been malconditioned, usually by bad people, bad parenting, bad teachers, false friends, you need to get tools like this to help you counter that malconditioning and get into a functioning state again, where you can allow yourself to fight back because you've been conditioned to never fight back. And pacifism only exists to be stomped on by bad people. That is the sad thing. There have been Buddhist warrior monks all throughout history. Buddhism is not pacifism. Buddhism is not dumb. While every group that was pacifist died out for some reason. There were a lot of Christian groups during Jesus' time or shortly after that were pacifists. They didn't make it for very long. And right now, we have this pacifist mindset spread again, and it seems to come from the Gnostic heresies and which is the socialist heresies, that go into the church, into Christianity, and undermine it, because that way they can take over without fighting a single bullet.
This reminds me
can get rid of it.
The relationship between the Shaolin monks and the Jedi. They come across very similar, as they're not warriors, but they can be, and they're asked by governments to help out whenever there's a problem because they're the wiser, they're the stronger, they know what to do. Hopefully, they know what to do. And the similarities are very. I don't know if that's what he used, if he even knew what the Shaolin monks were in ancient China. But I thought of that when I was a kid. I was like, oh yeah, that reminds me of watching that program on Kung Fu. Anyway, let's keep going.
Christian, the Gnostics, who did teach that, but they were rightly condemned as heretics because that's not what the Bible teaches.
Then why do you still have tons of Gnostic cults like the Jesuits in the Catholic Church with a Jesuit Pope right now who is pro-socialism?
Yeah.
There's
he's an interesting guy.
Interesting is one word to describe him.
I don't analyze popes. I let them go. I don't think about these things.
Well, the last one stepped down because it turned out he was trying to get rid of the PDF files in the church, and he did that by writing strongly worded letters appealing to their conscience for them to cease their evil doings and like go away. And they didn't do that for some reason, so he abdicated. Because guess what? You don't get rid of evil, violent, sadistic people by asking them nicely. Sadly, the only thing that they listen to is violence, because they're violent people. They come with violence, and they won't leave without violence. And that is what the Sith are. You can have bad guys in your religion. They're usually not adhering to your religion, to your institution. They're trying to undermine it. They use it. They use its power, because every center of power draws in corrupt people, inherently corrupt people, like moths to the flame. It's not that power just corrupts. Power draws the corrupt. That is what happens much, much, much more.
All right, let's keep going.
Star Wars universe, there's also no resurrection from the dead. There's no real hope of life after death. Yeah, there are some Force ghosts who return from what's called...
That is that. No joke. That is what the resurrection equivalent is. But you also don't need a physical resurrection. That is actually a rather rare thing in all of humanity's mythology. When people come back from the dead, it's more in the Greek mythology. It's more of a physical thing, because back then people thought people actually go to the underworld. That's why you could go to Hades and get your love back. But it's a difficult topic. But this is why some not so nice figures accuse Christianity of being a necromancy cult, which it isn't. But the whole thing about ghosts, the spirits of the ancestors, that is something much more common all around the world.
The netherworld of the Force in Star Wars. But that was only for, like, Jedi who were, like, super in tune with the Force. Generally, when someone dies, they just become one with the Force. And the Force is not some sort of deity, like in the Christian sense. The Force is just sort of like a pantheistic all-soul that sort of governs the universe.
It's animism. That is the term you're looking for.
He's saying it a very strange way. This is what the argument in KOTOR 2 from Kreia is all about, whether it's fate versus free will. The Force has its own goals. It tells the Sith and the Jedi what to do and how to do it. So how that works, we don't know, because it was never explained. So
yeah, to address the second paragraph down there, where it says this parallels Buddhism, which states that our goal is not a resurrection, but to achieve nirvana, which is an impersonal state of eternal serenity and bliss. No. Nirvana is not an impersonal state of eternal serenity and bliss. It's rather you rejoin with Tao, which did the source of creation. So you lose your individuality through that.
yeah, there is a resurrection cycle in Buddhism, so I don't know what he's talking about. That's one of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Anyway.
But doesn't really have intentionality. And this is very parallel to Buddhism, which states that, there isn't like a resurrection from the dead. There isn't some final day in the future where everyone's going to be raised from the dead, like Christianity teaches. Buddhism just says that the goal is to achieve nirvana, which is complete disconnection from the universe. And
No, it's not a disconnection from the universe. My God, the thing that is over there on the other side, that is still part of the universe. The universe it's creation is the flux that comes out of that source and then returns to it.
Yeah, it's up
we
to the individual.
as developing consciousness are trapped in this middle, the creation cycle. Sorry. And this is here's the difference to Gnosticism. The Buddhist tries to develop his buddhi, that is you could say that is the equivalent to the superego, because you have in Buddhism you have the id, the ego, and the superego. They just have different names. The manas is the id, the ego is ahamkara, and the superego, the intellect, is buddhi. That's why it's called Buddhism, and you try to develop the buddhi, which is what helps you to see the world in an objective fashion and control the other two. Control your ego, control your manas, your desires, yourself, and you get out on an individual manner out of what the Gnostics call the material prison. Just that the Gnostics, they don't want to do the work. Because this is what the Gnostics want to do is undo creation as a whole. That is why they try to remove distinctions between things.
I think he might be referring to Buddhism as a whole, but Tibetan Buddhism is specific to the Bardo worlds, and these are the gaps between life and death. And you have a certain opportunity to achieve enlightenment or not. You could just be there. And there's lots of other options. So yes, it's not resurrection. It's the cycle of life and death.
Resurrection is the completely wrong word. But even if Jesus came back, it might not be because it's God. It could be in the same image of Jesus, which nobody remembers because nobody made a painting. Or it could be somebody completely different that nobody would recognize. He would say his bits, and then he'd be up on the cross again because everybody would call him a heretic. That's half the joke there. The other thing I just forgot. Sorry.
All right.
In state of eternal serenity and bliss. So both the worldview and the view of life after death is pretty similar in Star Wars and Buddhism, but very different from Christianity. Because Christianity teaches that, yes, we will all die, but we will all be raised from the dead. Now, not everyone will get to live with Jesus forever. Only those who have faith in Jesus will get to live in Jesus' kingdom. But there is an actual resurrection from the dead. Christianity...
You know, if you look at this, I'll be really mean right now. This sounds much more like Norse mythology, where only the worthy are chosen by Odin to live with him and dine and drink in his hall and be happy while battling each other. Their version of happiness. Which is strange, isn't it? That it's so about the individual personal body.
I'm curious why he brought Christianity into this conversation, because he should be talking about Buddhism. So.
Well, it's because he's a Christian and obsessed with Christianity instead of trains.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That when you die, you go to heaven and stay there forever. Eventually, heaven is going to come down to earth, and there's going to be a perfected version of this world, this physical world that we will live in with physical bodies forever. That's what Christianity teaches.
Which, honestly, sounds much more insane to me than there being a spiritual aspect to reality, which could just be whatever energy is between the little strings that make up the atoms. Because in the end, it's all just waveforms.
All right.
That there comes a physical manifestation of all of that sounds much more magical to me.
I don't remember this in catechism class, so I don't recall what he's getting at, that heaven on earth sort of deal, which is like, all right, this is...
That might be his personal the denomination that he's in, congregation. Because they all believe different things. There's really no unified Christianity anymore, it seems. If there ever was. And in that way, it's very similar to Buddhism and other religions.
All right.
Maybe that's why you need a prophet once in a while.
What Buddhism teaches, and that's not really what the Star Wars. And also, similar to Buddhists, Jedi are taught to clear their minds and meditate on the Force. And the way to sort of feel the Force is to clear your mind of everything. That is not what Christians are supposed to do, and that's why a lot of Christians are against this kind of Eastern meditation. Christians are...
Really?
That is not Eastern meditation, you numbnut. That is itself a wrong type of meditation that is warned against in Buddhism because it can turn you insane. The way you clear your mind is not by thinking of something. Of course, in the magical world of Star Wars, where the Force is this tangible, okay, that's their fantasy thing. In Buddhism, the way you clear your mind is that you become passive. You do not interact with your thoughts as they come up, as they bubble up from your subconscious, and you do not interact with them, meaning you do not push away your negative thoughts and memories, and you do not cling to your positive ones either. They just come up, and then they pass by, they disappear on their own. The negatives will also disappear again on their own. That is where your subconscious is actually processing all of that, which is all the clutter on the porch of your mind, and that is what clears your head. And once that is done, which can take weeks to months, only after that you get into deeper states of meditation. This first level that I just described is basically what everybody should do on the same level that you brush your teeth. It's mental hygiene. It really allows you to work better, to concentrate better on everything. It can get rid of nightmares as well, and minor levels of trauma, because it opens up the limbic system and processes that stuff through. What he's describing is similar to the nonsense that Sam Harris is talking about, where you are to focus on things. Meditation is not focus. It is the opposite of focus, in the sense that it is nothing. And you do not seek to achieve anything with it, because that would already be focusing on something. The way you get with meditation is by not wanting.
I don't recall all of my friends and family members that did go to seminary school, but they did teach meditation there, depending on the denomination of Christianity. So I don't know exactly.
The Jesuits, for example, they do meditate, but they do it in some weird, they are Gnostics, they do it in some weird way where they do focus on something. And it is, yes, Ego Dreamer, praying is a form of meditation, but it is also different from it.
Yeah, that is a form of focus, right? So it almost every religion has a form of meditation or prayer. So I don't know, why he wouldn't mention that, because it seems pretty obvious that if you're going to have a religion like the Jedi, obviously they're going to have some sort of focusing of the body and mind and da-da-da. It's we can look to dozens and dozens of religions that do this. So if you go to seminary, if you're a monk of any kind, you're a brother, a sister, a father, you're going to meditate in some way, in some capacity.
Yeah, what the Jedi do is basically the hippie version of meditation, where they are worshipping the great big thing, that magic thing that they want to be part of, which is what some Christian denominations do in their forms of prayer, where they get into ecstasy, where they look like they're possessed. And that is not a holy thing that they do.
In this case, he's describing that Jedi don't form attachments. It's the same with any father or brother that meditate or go through seminary. You're not supposed to form it. You're supposed to focus on the Lord and his teachings and the community, not your own personal desires. So that's, again, very similar.
Yeah, well, it's this, I think that, and that's where we can get into argument, where you deny the ego instead of overcoming it, instead of integrating it. Because if you deny it, you just turn into another type of bad.
All right.
To quote unquote meditate on Christ, but that means focusing on Christ. If you clear your mind of everything, Christians believe that can open your mind to a demonic attack, if you really try and clear your mind of everything.
Not wrong, in the sense that there is a phase, I always forget the word, where meditation can lead to hallucinations. Those are not real hallucinations. They're where we don't then need the definition of what is a real and what is a fake hallucination. There is a medical distinction between those. Once your mind is cleared, with all the gunk on the porch, as I put it, the thoughts and processes in your subconscious have it easier to come up as well, which means things that are currently going on in your visual cortex, for example, they suddenly get priority, and you could say manifest in the simulation in your head that you perceive as the real world. And those go away after a while again. And every Buddhist teaching says, don't interact with those. They lead you astray.
Well, in this case,
not doing that is actually what leads to you losing your mind.
This we're getting into the states of the mind during meditation. There's lots of articles over the years talking about the psychological impacts of deep sleep and REM sleep and various kinds of meditation techniques. And we're talking about anywhere from theta to beta state. So you can have some dreamlike visions very quick, because as soon as you do that, your body starts shutting down and you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be sleeping now. So there are ways to prolong that, but again, we're talking about a fantasy world where you can move things with your mind. So there's
not that extreme. What in meditation, the visual false hallucination people describe is a formation of greenish light.
Yeah, but
mine was purple.
We're trying to compare this to the Jedi getting visions from the Force, which is like a prognostication or a perception of what may be.
Oh yeah.
And this is where we go to KOTOR 2, where it's like the Force is directing you in a certain path, and free will versus fate and all this jazz. So again, you can connect this to a few other religions of that use psychedelic drugs or whatever kind of breathing techniques. This is not uncommon.
The problem with the drugs is that they're basically cheating tools
Yeah.
that open up a lot of pathways in the brain and overwhelm you with things you're not ready for.
All right.
Which is why even for those, there are guidelines that you should be prepared with if you want to take them, so that you don't, similar to the Book of the Dead, so that you don't take the wrong turn in your trip, which ends up in a hellscape you can't just wake up from. And because strangely enough, people do report this, go one way or the other, and it's like the meme with the nice castle and the evil devil castle. Well, which are you going to go to? And depending on your state of mind there, you will be automatically drawn to one of the two. And you will not be the same person if you go down the dark path. And I don't mean that in a good way.
All right, so
in a fun way.
Lots of religions have many kinds of meditation and forms of prayer, and that's not.
The problem with this focus on Jesus thing is that that's not Jesus that you focus on. That is your personal subjective idea of what Jesus is. When you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? You don't get the answer of what Jesus would actually do. You get the answer of what would your construct of Jesus, of what you believe Jesus to be, do. Which can be helpful in its own right.
All right.
But it will not be Jesus.
And Buddhism teaches is bad. That the way to escape suffering is just to not desire anything. It's like, are you sad about not having a girlfriend? Then stop wanting a girlfriend and you won't be sad about not having a girlfriend. I mean...
that's bad Buddhism. There are those yogis and all these false prophets. They do say that, but that is not the actual Buddhist message.
That's a surface level understanding of desire is the root of all evil. So, yeah, if you just eliminate desire, you won't have a problem. You also won't have a life.
But that's what I said with because that's denying ego and manas. You have to integrate them and overcome them, control them, not deny them. When you deny them, then then there's nothing to live for. Then you end up as a nihilist and end yourself. You need the desire in order to live.
You could be a Buddhist. You could just sit on the roadside and asking for alms all day. That is a thing.
I mean, practically speaking, it's a pretty good philosophy. Like, hypothetically, in a universe where atheism was true, I mean, that's an impossibility. But just
oh my God, this guy. My opponents are impossible. They are insane. How could you possibly think like that?
Well, he has proven God with Marv.
He did make a video. Oh God, I hate this already.
It would make sense if you have no hope for the universe to get any better. Detaching yourself from it might help.
You know what makes the universe better? You. You make the universe better by every decision you make where you take control, where you adhere to virtue. So, of course, you can also make the universe worse. The universe is also worse because you're here, but it's also better. And the decision in which way it leans, that is the one thing that's up to you. That is what you have control over. Every single moment, every second, every decision you make. And when you think, oh, I'm just gonna not make decisions, that too is a decision.
I'm wondering
you're just not aware of
if he has the same attitude to like Judaists or Hinduists, or just pick any religion. He's they're wrong. Yeah, okay. Oh, jeez.
Well, you can't really. Can you deny Judaism as a Christian? Does that even work?
This guy sounds like he could do it. So
yeah, he probably could.
Yeah,
with math.
With math, exactly. He has an equation, I'm sure.
But in Christianity, because we believe there is a God, so we should get on board.
Yeah, but why would he want to fix the universe?
Why are we talking about
God? He made it this way. He thought this is good.
Yeah, but why are we talking about this? We're supposed to be talking about meditation and Jedi. What does God have to do with this?
Then he makes humans and says, this is good. And then the humans turn bad. He made the snake and thought, that's good. And then the snake convinces the woman to eat the apple. And he thought like, oh shit. Well, is it all good now? Didn't you foresee that? Wasn't that or was it just a parent setting up a little thing so that the children would get on their own feet and start doing stuff? And then he wipes everyone off because, there were some bad humans and giants and other things that were also created, but we don't talk about that. And including the big giant that rode on top of Noah's Ark, sorry, English, that we also don't talk about, but that is in the oral tradition of Judaism still, and is reflected in Norse mythology, which is super fun, because there was a giant who stood on a box while the giants were wiped out with the blood of Ymir that flooded the world when Odin made the world out of the primordial giant, which is Tohu Vabohu, the primordial chaos. It is a fun ride. Anyway, after that, God then says, well, humans will always be evil. Well, great, but I will not curse the earth anymore just because humans are evil. What great creation you made there. Super perfect. Yeah. Maybe that was intentional, so that we have something to do. And if we are reflections of God, then God has those elements all in himself as well. So to fix it is only to give teachings, because we have to figure that out. We are the big supercomputer that is supposed to figure out how do we right the wrongs of the world. And I think the Buddhists have a pretty good idea about it. Not just fapping to Jesus, but instead mastering yourself.
All right. 4 minutes in.
So we should get with his project to do that. So Christianity things. It's good to want love. It's good to want the world to be better. You just have to...
It's good to want love.
That sounds like lust. You're a sinner. Sinner!
I wonder what his definition of love is. Is it a Christian agape? Is it some sort of psychological version? Like, what is he?
Yeah, there's not that many definitions of that in the Christian text. That is a problem. But this is where I'm saying, where Aristoteles was much more on point with his idea of mesotes, the golden middle, if you will. And that is not the exact center, but that which is appropriate in the moment. Because if you have all the cardinal virtues and sins next to each other, there is a time for lust, and there is a time for chastity. If you have zero sin, that means zero lust, and you're all chaste, then humanity dies out.
Well, I just find these extremes, these big words he's using with, we should seek for this undefinable concept called love. Also the atheists are wrong. It's like, wait, whoa, slow down. Let's get back on topic.
To represent your desires and not be, but fundamentally, we were created to desire things. So it's not a bad thing.
So the Buddhists are wrong, you're saying? Because they want you to choose peace as opposed to any other form of...
So he's saying we are to sort our desires, which is what Buddhism does. Buddhism is not denial. his understanding is more superficial than mine.
It's very surface level. Like, there's so many flavors of Buddhism and Christianity. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? We should seek love. It's like, which kind? Who? Where? When? How?
The love to the dear leader.
Yeah, what do you like?
The dear leader, Mao Zedong.
Should we have
He will be our
monogamy? Should we have
salvation.
polygamy? Like, what do you want? What should we do
Oh
here?
God.
So that's another parallel between Buddhism and the Jedi. The Jedi are taught to not have any romantic relationships at all whatsoever. Like, the reason Anakin Skywalker turned to the dark side is because...
Oh, you mean like all those Christian monks who go into celibacy?
You mean like Anakin Skywalker, the virgin birth baby? What? This is okay.
Because I told him he was not allowed to love anyone. They're like, oh, Anakin, you care about your mom? How evil of you. You don't want your wife to die.
What?
No,
Nobody said that.
the Jedi want you to love others, not in a sexual way, in the way to help them, compassion and caring and teaching.
The problem with things being so... with people taking everything absolutely literal when it's just illusions. This what you see in Star Wars is allusions to Eastern philosophy.
Yeah, with
not the literal. You must not have any attachments to anything. Throw away your lightsaber.
yeah with not Qui-Gon. I guess you could say Qui-Gon, even Obi-Wan. In Episode 3, he calls Anakin, you were like my brother. It's like, that's a form of love. That's a relationship. They have relationships in the Jedi. They're just not sexual ones, because that is too much. You're putting your ego too far. You're desiring too much. This is he's just taking it too literal on his own definition, as opposed to what actually happens.
You could say there's a fourth level of consciousness in the East that is the Chitti. And Chitti is the cosmic mind. That is not something directly within us. That is the cosmic mind. And you could maybe say, maybe that is what is meant by the Force. And that is what Lucas wants them to meditate on. Maybe, I don't know, because I don't know what Lucas knows.
No, I don't
what
think
Lucas has
Lucas...
read and what he takes and then recombines into... for his Star Wars world.
I know he had an
because
interview,
it's all just illusions.
I think it was with Oprah or something. He was talking about the Sith and the Jedi and how they would behave. And a lot of people clapped after he said his speech, and I was like, wait a second. That was a very, very limited understanding of compassion, of what he just described as the Jedi were. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of like, okay, if this is the basis for the philosophy and the creation of these beings, then there's going to be huge holes. And that's why we always look to KOTOR 2 to try to turn it on its head. There's not much to go on, though. But asking the questions allows us to go, oh, yes, I see there's a problem with having this pool of energy that is connected to everything, and we have rules against it for some reason, and it seems to have its own will against what's going on in the universe. And if without that metaphysics, without that understanding, we're just like, what is it? What does it do? What is magic in this world that you've created, George? And he never answers the question. He never answers his own setups, which is the prophecy, which is what is Darth Vader supposed to do as the chosen one? Is he the chosen one? What is the chosen one? He never answers these questions.
Yeah, and what makes a Force lightning? What makes a Jedi mind trick? By the way, Jedi mind trick is, by its nature, a Sith power.
And how? Why is lightning?
Because it is manipulation. Manipulation is the way of the Sith.
Why is lightning evil? Why is it Sith? Why is lightning? Why is electricity a Sith evil power? What's the basis for that? Because it's red.
Because it's purple. It's
purple.
Okay. It's a direct manifestation of your anger and force and will to change the world. So I don't know.
Who knows?
But then that would still be that would be a more honest form of power.
Also, he spelled Christianity wrong.
I believe what he's looking at here is a series of meme texts or something.
Yeah, probably.
Not his own. This is not his writing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
responding to this stuff.
Of you. So the Jedi attachments. Now, I'm not saying that's what Buddhists believe, but that's definitely not what Christians believe. And Anakin turned to the dark side. He became a Sith. He became Darth Vader because only the Sith were actually supposedly giving him an opportunity to save his wife from death. Now, in the Star Wars story,
yeah, that's a trick. Like the devil offers you things.
Yeah, but this is again another bad writing element of episode 2. Was it? No, episode 3.
Yeah.
It was so ham-fisted. It was so nonsensical. It was as if, I guess I'm gonna serve this guy because this story wants me to. It's like, what? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, Mr. Sam Jackson, just chill. We'll get the other Jedi to come by and we'll have a trial. And, that's it. We're good. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, George really needed writing help with that because the general idea of the story is good. It's the execution where it fails.
The details are horrible.
Yeah, but that all aside,
all right.
Being a trick, and the Sith were just individual Sith that we see in the Star Wars universe. They're all morally bad, but the philosophy behind the Sith is actually more similar to Christianity than the Jedi.
Really?
He's insane. He's evil. He's evil.
I want to hear this. I want to see where he's going.
Yeah, but what I want to, before we go into this, the parallel, or rather, they're antonyms in a way, between Anakin Skywalker and Jesus Christ, both virgin births that are the chosen ones, yada yada. When Jesus goes into the desert, the devil tempts him all the time with all sorts of crap, and Jesus denies it. Anakin, when he's in the desert, meaning he's at the low point in his hero's journey, Padme is about to die, and he was driven to facilitate that in the first place. So he's that out of mind already. He succumbs to it. That's the difference. Anakin falls where Jesus didn't. Because Anakin had something he was so attached about, which is a wife and future children. Well, of course, anybody would. That Jesus didn't have that problem. So he couldn't be tempted in that way. The thing is, saying the Sith's code is closer to Christianity. My God. It's insane.
I'm not sure where that's going.
Than the Jedi philosophy. Because the bad guys are supposedly the Sith, who are not afraid to use passion and love. But
the Jedi aren't scared.
They're narcissists, psychopaths, egoists.
Yeah, the Jedi
they're
aren't
without remorse.
Scared. It's just the rule is that way. What was it in the Clone Wars? Obi-Wan loved that lady government type person, but she died.
The Mandalorian?
I don't know her name. But it's not like he was against it. And if she asked him, he would accept her feelings. This was like a very normal, mature thing to do. So even if that were the case, he'd be like, okay, well, I broke the rule. I'll stop being a Jedi. He'd be like, yeah, that would have happened. No problem. The Jedi aren't going to be like, oh, you are a horrible Jedi. It's like, no, that's the choice he made. And he's no longer part of the order because that's the rules of this monastic sect of Force. It's not like this horrible thing.
Well, the thing is, the Clone Wars series that played out these stories as well, that took its time with the development of these throughout several episodes, which is what the movies would have needed to breathe. You could the prequel trilogy, in order to tell the story it wanted to tell with the characters it had, would have needed to be as long as the extended version of the special extended whatever longest version of The Lord of the Rings.
Not necessarily. I mean, I know where you're going with this.
It would be easier if they had done Darth Jar Jar.
personifying evil, yeah, it's a lot easier to do. I agree. But they could have told the story of the whatever the birth of Darth Vader in a much more coherent and plausible way, with the same setups, with exactly the same scenarios, just explained and with better, God knows better dialogue. Anyone could write better dialogue than that crap. With a believable love story, with a believable setup as to how he got tricked and why he's still around.
I would have done it by 1,000 cuts, and that's why I would have taken 3 hours for the Clone Wars.
Yeah, you could. These are very simple setups. Like a boy loves girl, boy goes to monastic order to forget feelings for girl. Boy still loves girl. All these basic things, and then the man with the sword comes by, grants the boon, and he becomes partially Darth Vader. All this slowly build up. Like it just worked naturally, organically with these conflicts and desires and losses and pains and as the years go on, Anakin no longer believes in the Jedi Code as much because of what they're doing, and then the Jedi keeps screwing him up, and he's like, wait a second, that's not what you taught me, Obi-Wan. Well, that's why Episode 3, that one scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they're talking about, this is not the Jedi way. We don't spy on people. Well, you're asking me to spy on the Chancellor, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, exactly. We needed that the entire series from the start, because that causes us to go, oh, now we know why he's this way, because it's been happening over and over again. The Jedi aren't as good as you think. They're not evil, but they do these rule-breaking things. It's
disillusionment over time, and frustration of him wanting to do good but being held back by crap, and in the sense by red tape. Because what the and this is what they did good in the Clone Wars TV, the animated show with Ahsoka, where Ahsoka gets caught up in red tape because the Jedi Order is that there is, yes, you have the spiritual side to it, but it is also a giant bureaucracy at that point, and bureaucracies always corrupt from the inside, always. And that's what you have at the end, where she is also falsely framed for something she didn't do, as well as other students. And that is what drives her out of the Order. She is still, at heart, a Jedi, but not within the Order. I think that's the relevant point there.
Okay.
Passion, strength, power, victory, those are good things in Christianity as long as they're oriented towards Christ.
Really?
What? You want victory over Christ?
You want victory over your enemies?
You want power over Christ?
You want power? Like, what does it mean to have power with Christianity? Like, what is it? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The Borgias? The Medicis? Like, that was really bad corruption. That was.
I mean, the idea. The good part is in the line, the meek shall inherit the earth, but we don't use the word meek anymore as it was used in the text. When people say it now, they mean, the people who are pacifists who don't fight back against their bullies. And really, it means quite the opposite. The meek are the ones who have a sword and know how to draw it and wield it, and will not do so unnecessarily. They will keep their sword sheathed. And that is the important part. They will have their sword, they will have their gun, but not use it unless absolutely necessary.
I'm also curious
what Christianity does now is it refuses to even have a sword.
Well, I'm curious what passion is in Christianity. Like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? When you believe in something.
I know a lot of Christians who have a lot of passion for Christ, and
sure.
it looks very, very disturbing because their sermons look like they're all masturbating,
chanting, and this and that. Like when you go to church,
chanting, they're touching themselves.
When you go to church, maybe if you go to those weird giant Uber churches with all the.
No, it's a tiny thing here in town. It's like 30 people.
Yeah, with that, like whenever I would go as a kid, and I would go with family members and watch it, everyone was just chill. Everyone was like, "Yep, church. You go to church. It's a thing. You believe in the sermon, you believe in your parish, and your priest. It's all communal. It's all very friendly. There's no expressions of passion, and I don't think there's any expressions of strength, or whatever strength means in that context.
Strength is to come from within.
I don't know.
You can't have. You have to have for proper strength. You have to have strength within first to stand firm, to hold up your spine. It is what holds up your spine, and it is the spines of good people that hold up the world.
I'm just curious what this translates to, because all these words are not translatable to anything in Christianity I can think of.
Well, because just this random nonsense that Lucas made up. In this case, it is really just random.
Well,
nonsense.
the Sith code is not this is not actually written down as far as I recall. Maybe Drew Karpyshyn might have done this.
I think this wasn't this taken from the Old Republic, the MMORPG?
Maybe, yeah. I don't remember who wrote this, but this is like a very non-Lucas thing. And if you look at it, it's pretty much just mirroring what the Jedi code is like. There is no emotion. There is peace. And then the Sith response is, peace is a lie. There's only passion. You're like, wait a second. So
there's war.
So
passion is war.
Sith is only based off the concept of the Jedi, which is not how you should have a hierarchy or any kind of system of philosophy. It should be based off your own principles, not some other guy's principles, and the flip side of that of whatever. Yeah,
but that is what shows what the Sith really are. They are immature. They are narcissists.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's why they can. They can only think in this manner. They can't think of their own reason.
This is a derivative of a poorly thought out philosophy, and you're like, this is even worse than the Jedi concept, like what George came up with. So, to him to say this is like, dude, are you even aware of what you're doing? This is
no, he's not.
This is.
But the concept that you described, where the bad version, the narcissistic version here, is just a reflection of the real thing, regardless of the quality of the real thing in this instance. The mechanics are the same with everything else that narcissists have made in the real world, which seems to be all the Gnostic religions, which seems to be socialism, which seems to be Islam. They are all just, there's this other thing, and I'm going to make my own thing based off of that, but it's so much cooler, and it gives me stuff right away.
I remember, was it episode 2 or episode 3 where Yoda was talking about like death is part of life? You know, you have to accept the fact that your son or your daughter is going to die, because he's talking to Anakin. And at the end, it's like, there is no death. There is the Force. Like, wait a second. Okay.
You will be reunited with your children in the Force. I mean heaven. I mean Jesus. I mean Valhalla.
Is there death in life, or is there only the Force? Like, what's happening here, Yoda? What are you talking about?
I mean the next life. I mean Nirvana. I mean...
Yeah, I know. There's so many contradictions. I just don't care. And it's a silly fantasy story that was not written well. And the only consolation we got was KOTOR. That's it. Everything else is pretty much crap. So,
which is sad, because there was a lot of good stuff in the Old Republic.
I know.
And not so great.
But that's like Mass Effect 2. Oh, the side stories are great, but everything else is crap. That's the point. That's not the point.
Hey, don't dismiss my boy Darth Nihilus.
Well, that's KOTOR 2.
He's the best.
That's KOTOR 2. That's fine. KOTOR 2 is fine.
He was in the Old Republic.
Oh, they did.
He had a great voice actor.
Oh God. Oh God. Anyway,
I told you, amazing, best character.
Ourselves, we should have passion for Christ and for the gospel.
What does that mean?
And the Bible talks about how Christ gives us strength.
How?
He means being a fanboy.
What is he talking?
So there's this magical god that if you're a really good fanboy, he gives you power. You know what that sounds like?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're a Christian and not a Satanist?
This reminds me.
You know what the devil does in order to trick people to work for him? He disguises himself as a celestial being.
Well,
He would take on the shape of Christ in order to fool you.
this reminds me of
That's the whole point. That's why you're not supposed to believe any single hallucination or vision that comes across you, because you as a mortal are too dumb to know whether it's the real guy or the fake guy. And 99.99999% of the time, it's gonna be the fake guy.
This reminds me of, I guess, dating profiles like a long time ago. I'm a God-fearing woman. It's like, what is that? Like, are you afraid of your own God? Like, what is happening? I'm seeking a God-fearing man. It's like, what does that mean? What do you want? You want me to be afraid of God? Like,
No. If you're a God-fearing man, that means you are afraid of something, and that means the woman can exploit it.
oh yeah, maybe. There's all these weird statements and musings. If you believe in God, great. Go do your thing. That's beautiful. Whatever you believe in, I'm sure it made your life better, and you found peace and beautiful love with your friends and family. I'm sure it's a good thing. But to have it in this non-context way, it's like, have strength in God, like have power through the glory of God. Like, what? Do you want me to go fight a crusade against Islam or something? What do you want me to do? What's happening here? How is this?
Well, I don't think Christ would want.
No.
Well, Christ might want that because the devil wants you to embrace Islam.
Oh, anyway, this is. I don't like talking in these violent terms, and then appealing to Christianity doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna pick up my lightsaber and fight for the Lord. Like, what are you talking about?
At least he's honest in that he's biased, that his denomination, as he believes it to be, is the bestest because it's his.
Victory. What's victory in the name of the Lord? Does anyone know that? I think it's a lot of bloodshed. I think that's what happens when you achieve victory.
Yeah, when Charlemagne Christianized the Heave, there was a lot of bloodshed. Every village that did not 100% convert was beheaded entirely.
I think we had
pretty much the same thing that Islam does.
We had the Spanish Inquisition. That was lots of strength.
But it started with a necessary reason, which is to fight the Gnostic heresies in the church, which was justified because the Gnostic heresies are basically Satanism, and it at least produced in the end the modern justice system, where you do get to have a trial in which somebody will also speak for you. So that with all that red tape, so that is the droplet of good that came out of it.
It's like saying we cured cancer by slaughtering 3,000 people. That's great for human experimentation. That's fantastic. All right.
Well, that's a socialist logic. We can achieve utopia. We just need to sacrifice 300 billion people more, and that's justified because after that, nobody will ever need to be sacrificed ever again. Nobody will suffer, and that's why it's worth it.
All right.
That is their logic.
Anyway, back to translating the Sith code to Jesus, I guess. Here.
Power gives us the victory. Christ achieved victory over death, and we can achieve victory over sin and evil.
No. Christ did not achieve victory over death. I thought he is the son of God and God, so if he just wants to get up again, he just does. That's not a victory. It's not a victory if you can open the console of life and enter your cheat code. Because you're the operator. That's not victory. When I use a cheat code in a video game, I cannot consider that a victory, especially when other players are involved. Now here you can say, yeah, it was relevant to get the story across, okay. But that's not victory. That's cheating.
All right.
By putting Christ. Now, Jesus said he did not come to bring peace. The Jedi talk about it's nothing but peace. Jesus said he did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Eventually there's going to be peace on earth once Jesus defeats all evil. But right now there's still evil. So Jesus did not come to bring peace. He came to divide truth from error. He came to divide good from evil.
He did?
Now,
but he said everybody's blessed.
I thought God loves everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's evil. There's some people that are evil. Okay, I don't know. I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to whatever.
I think he's mistaking this for the flood thing.
I don't know. I'm done.
Oh, we're only halfway through.
Christian about knowledge, but there is something in humanity, I think. We're supposed to have joy and peace in Christ, but we're not supposed to be at peace with the way things are.
What? I don't understand.
You know, you're in a cult when you are always supposed to be fighting an enemy.
I don't know what we're not supposed to be at peace. It's like, but we have it. It's like, what? So we get peace through Christianity, but we don't have it.
This guy has never had a good moment in his life.
I don't know.
And obviously, chaos is bad in Christianity, but when it says there is no chaos, that's not true. There is chaos in the universe, but it's bad. And they said there is no death.
Why is it bad? Why is water bad? Why is the spinning of planets bad? That's pretty.
No, those are in order.
No, those are horrifically chaotic.
They're all moving in order. They're not bumping into each other constantly.
You sure about that?
Have you ever seen an asteroid belt? They're all several hundred kilometers apart, and it's not like in science fiction where they're constantly bumping into one another.
Before they were an asteroid belt, do you knew what they were before?
Yeah, but that's back then. Chaos is over. Now everything is fine.
Yeah, giant explosions. That's totally normal. Okay, it's great.
Yeah.
Nuclear fusion and fission. That's great. No chaos there whatsoever.
Some nice big black holes and quasars and whatever that giant
deadly radiation
god at the center of the universe
billions of years. Yeah, it's great.
Just chill.
Yes, there is death. It's bad. So you see the Buddhist philosophy of the Jedi here. They're saying just ignore the bad things in the universe. And Christianity is saying don't.
Okay, this is getting nowhere.
This is nonsense. He's just rambling nonsense. I can't respond that quickly. No, don't jump to the end.
This is a waste.
No, this is beautiful.
No, it's hideous. What are you talking about? This is not beautiful. This is insanity. The guy's trying to interpret a surface level philosophy of a thing he doesn't quite understand, of a writer who didn't understand what he's talking about, with his own religion. This is disgusting.
Look, Matthew 12:30. He that is not with me is against me. Yeah, that is fascism, by the way. That is fascism. That is Mussolini. Everything within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. So everything that is outside is automatically against. Everything against is bad. Everybody needs to be with.
If he is
that's bad. That's a bad line.
Yeah, if he is taking this as to mean, I don't know, go fight your enemies. I don't know that.
And this is the same way that Islam functions. Everybody needs to be part of it. Nobody's allowed to be against it. Nobody's allowed to be outside of it. So you are really making a really bad case why we should be Christians.
Kill your enemies. Okay.
Thought of. Did you ever hear the tragedy of the mainline Protestant church?
Nope, don't care. Oh my God. Let's not go there. We are not here to listen.
Dude, this is funny because the Protestants call the Catholics Satanists, while the Protestants are just doing whatever they want and are therefore much closer to Satanists.
Let's not even. I don't want to.
It's great.
Entertain this at all. This is insanity. Please tell me you have stream memes. Something to lighten this up. Do we have anything?
I don't know.
Wow. How far back do I have to go?
I was just getting warmed up.
This is horrible.
I don't think they're right.
November the 23rd. I'm way far back. Okay, gotta go. Keep going.
No, I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Memes. Fantastic. All right, that was. Holy hell! What do we call this?
Holy hell. No, that's a movie. Oh man. The bad guys always want us to fight and fight and fight and fight.
This came out November 12th this year. It has nearly 75,000 views. What a load of gobbledygook.
So he's the devil who wants to tempt us into becoming Sith.
Or at least hate the Presbyterian Church. I don't know. This is.
I thought he is a Presbyterian.
But maybe there's a flavor of Presbyterianism which is evil and must be destroyed because you have the power and strength of Jesus and passion and victory of I don't know.
I don't know. Let us hear his last thing
I
that we
don't
know.
No, this is so silly.
You'll like it.
This is like interpreting Tolkien to become a baker or something, because the meek shall inherit the earth, and the hobbits like to grow things and plant things, and
which is the Ents. The Ents shall inherit the
I
earth.
don't know. This is nonsense.
Because they're meek.
What did we learn today? Nothing.
I am an Ent supremacist.
Holy hell. Yeah, guys, don't mix religion with your philosophy. Don't mix religion with your media. Just don't mix your religion. Believe in whatever you believe in. That's a beautiful thing. You have faith in something. Lead you through life very well. Of course. Don't.
No, Satanism is not pretty.
There are some good things.
Child sacrifice is not pretty. That's I know.
The Church of Satan.
I'm gonna say that's objectively bad.
Is more of a joke church. So
I'm not talking about the joke Satanist meme church. I'm talking about the real Satanism.
No, I don't know about that.
That is a thing, sadly.
Anyway, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to cover any kind of religious, unless it's like stupidly funny. This guy's serious. Like, he actually believes this nonsense. So.
Yeah, he also sounds like Ben Shapiro, and very a lighter version of it.
Way lighter.
But what I mean is, he always sounds mean and forceful. I don't think he has nice, quiet, good moments in his life.
I don't know. This seems like a guy who wants to go to a war like at this drop of a hat because his parishioner or his spiritual advisor said so. Yeah, guys, don't ever try to translate the Sith into your religion. That is just wrong. That is not a good look, and makes you look like a psychopath. So
yeah,
don't do that. I hope this guy he sounds like a nice guy, but murderous, evil people in association with good concepts like Jesus of Nazareth or Buddhist or Buddha or whomever, don't do that. Keep it separate.
Don't be a religion of yin. That is bad stuff.
Right.
Bad juju.
Well, I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you. It would have been great to have more people to talk about this because there's lots to say. But yeah, that was rough.
Maybe we should do another poll for the scheduling, because some people have their D&D session on today now.
Tomorrow I think we're going to talk about Arcane, the second season. So I don't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we got to talk.
There's so much to say about that, and so
we're
little.
Going to go episode. Yeah, we're going to go episode
so little
by episode.
and so much.
And it's a while. If you guys haven't watched it, I recommend watching it just for the sake of talking about it tomorrow. But yeah, it is so different than the first season.
It's so ham-fisted.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Have yourself a good Friday. Bye-bye.